Hi, I'm Laura Brandenburg from Bridging the Gap, and we help business analysts start their careers. Today, I want to talk about requirements change because we know that one of the ways that we add value as business analysts is by reducing the rework and the requirements churn that happens in a project where somebody isn't managing the requirements and communicating and collaborating about the requirements effectively. So as business analysts, we get everyone on the same page about what done means and what a successful project looks like. And we help facilitate the communication of how multiple people contribute to that solution and can fill their role to make sure that that solution delivers the value in the end. But what if requirements keep changing and stakeholders keep changing their mind about the requirements? What do we do? That's what we're going to talk about in today's video. So the first thing, I'm going to share 3 tips, really simple tips of how to manage and reduce unnecessary requirements change on your projects. Super, super important way that we add value as business analysts. So the first way is that we understand the problem that we're solving and we make sure we're solving the right problem. And you hear me say this again and again, but it's so important, it's so fundamental. And in our business analysis process that we teach at Bridging the Gap, it's steps 2 and 3 of the process. Step 2 is defining the business objectives, and step 3 is defining the scope. And when we skip those steps, which we're often tempted to do because it's like, just start coding or just start writing the requirements, right? Don't worry about those business objective stuff, just tell me what I need to build, right? And so get me the requirements as quickly as possible. It's a big pressure that we feel. When we skip steps 2 and 3 and we're figuring out all these detailed requirements, that's when they tend to change the most. So all that time we saved not figuring out our business objectives and getting alignment from our stakeholder community around scope is essentially time that gets repurposed in churning through the detailed requirements again and again, because we're trying to hit what feels like a moving target. Like one day we're solving the sales problem, and the next day we're solving customer retention, and the next day we're solving the sales problem again, right? And our requirements keep changing because the problem that we're solving in this project isn't understood clearly by our business community, isn't understood clearly by us, and so we have a challenge of kind of shaping the requirements to solve that problem. Number one way, easy, if you do nothing else, do that, and it will help reduce requirements change. The second tip is to really think about your review and your validation processes. So often, do you have all the right people in the room in that process? Are you walking through the requirements in such a way that your stakeholders can truly understand what they mean and how they're going to impact them in their business? So often we might, historically have a long list of functional requirements, or in current day have a long list of user stories. And so you're reviewing these individual pieces one at a time, okay, do you want this? Is this good? Do you want this? Is this good? Right? And but it's hard to keep track of the big picture, and it's hard to actually see once I have all these individual requirements, is this what I want as a business user? And so thinking about how to include more analytical models and more visual models. This is why we do business process models, use cases, wireframes, process diagrams, and any relationship diagrams, system context diagrams, showing how the system is going to work and helping people see their role in that system. It's a much more useful way of doing that validation. So when you're getting the requirements approved, people know what they're actually approving and how that's going to impact them. Okay, and then the third tip that I want to share with you is to be clear about the implications of change and what it means to actually approve requirements, right? We could say, oh, you're signing on the dotted line. Well, so what? I can change my mind. We've got a change request form, right? So how do we change? There's always going to be room for some change in projects, but clearly identifying what the cost of that change is. So one example, my very first Agile project, they're Laura, we need the requirements by Monday. We're going to have our sprint planning meeting. So please just do your best and get them to us in our best possible form. And if we have to change them later, like, it's no big deal. This is what the developers told me. So I was like, okay, it's agile. Change isn't a big deal anymore, right? Like, I drank the Kool-Aid, and then it comes like 2 days, and I had one stakeholder that I just couldn't get time on their calendar to confirm the requirements. And so I knew that the requirements were not validated the way that I would have liked. And so 2 days into that first sprint, it was a 2-week sprint, I got time on that person's calendar. We walked through and we made some changes, and I had the adjustments to those requirements or those user stories that they were building from. And so I was like, okay, now I've got them final. They're like, oh, no, we're gonna wait till the next sprint to make those changes. And then when I went into the next sprint planning meeting with essentially the updated requirements that they just spent 2 weeks implementing, they weren't super happy with me as their business analyst, because they're like, well, we just spent 2 weeks implementing something and it was the wrong thing. And I was like, yeah, that was the cost of me not being able to confirm those requirements ahead of time and the pressure that we had. So being clear with your business community about the implications of the change, as well as your development community, if they're pressuring you to have the requirements, quote unquote, done before you've really done the validation that you need to do. Those are both ways that we need to step up as leaders, as business analysts, and we need to say, this is when we know the requirements are done. This is what it means, like, to our business users, this is what it means to be done. Somebody's going to go build this, right? And if you want them to build it again, it's going to be another sprint, which will either delay other requirements that you have, or it's going to add cost to the project. And so making sure that that kind of message is getting in front of the people that actually are in charge of the cost or in charge of the scope, and so they understand the implications of what change means from that forward. And you'll find when you start to have that conversation with people, they'll be like, oh, and they'll start dialing in and paying more attention to the walkthroughs, because they understand there's a downstream impact if they make a change after that point. And it doesn't mean that there's no change. It just means that you've done the best work you can as a business analyst to eliminate and minimize unnecessary change, which is change that just comes up because people aren't paying attention, they're not reviewing the documents, and they're not really understanding the documentation and they're not communicating clearly about what they want. So, you're still going to have some change in projects, like project environments will change, business goals will change, things outside your project will impact your project. You'll see what's been created and you'll discover new needs and wants, and those will get reflected as changes into your project, right? So there's always going to be some change. You really want to reduce the unnecessary change that just comes from, quite honestly, lazy business analysis. That's my tip for you today. Please leave a comment below. What adjustment are you going to make to your requirements process to reduce unnecessary changes to the requirements? Again, I'm Laura Brandenburg from Bridging the Gap, and we help you start your business analyst career.